You wake up tired. Again. Your joints ache a little more than they used to. Your doctor tells you it's just part of getting older. You look in the mirror and see evidence of decline, lines deepening, energy fading, vitality slipping away. And somewhere deep inside, you accept it. You tell yourself, this is just how bodies work. This is my genetic destiny. This is inevitable. But what if I told you that acceptance, that internal narrative, is the very thing keeping you locked in decline? What if the story you tell yourself about your body is not a passive observation of reality, but an active instruction manual that your cells are following, word for word, moment by moment? What if your DNA is not a fixed blueprint carved in stone, but a dynamic, responsive interface that's listening to every thought, every belief, every story you tell about who you are and what's possible for your body? This isn't metaphor. This isn't positive thinking. This is the cutting edge of epigenetics, quantum biology, and psychoneuroimmunology converging on a single, revolutionary truth. Your internal narrative is the primary software that runs your biological hardware. And here's the profound implication. If your narrative has been programming disease, aging, and limitation into your cells, then by changing that narrative, you can reprogram your biology toward regeneration, vitality, and health. This is cellular alchemy, the transformation of your physical body through the deliberate reconstruction of your internal story. And it's not some distant possibility reserved for mystics or genetic anomalies. It's available to you right now, in this moment. But first, we need to dismantle the lie you've been told about your body. The lie that's been holding you hostage. The lie that says your health is predetermined, your destiny is fixed, and your decline is inevitable. Let's burn that lie to the ground. For over a century, we've been operating under a paradigm that's fundamentally wrong. It's a paradigm that's caused immeasurable suffering, robbed people of hope, and turned the medical establishment into a fatalistic fortune-telling machine. The paradigm is this: your genes determine your destiny. You've heard it 1,000 times. It runs in the family. Your grandfather had heart disease, so you probably will too. You have the breast cancer gene. Your DNA says you're predisposed to diabetes, Alzheimer's, autoimmune disease. This view, called genetic determinism, emerged from the early days of molecular biology. When scientists discovered the structure of DNA in 1953, they were stunned by its elegance, a double helix encoding all the instructions for building a human being. It seemed like we'd found the Holy Grail, the blueprint of life. And for decades, that's how we thought about it. DNA as a blueprint, fixed, unchangeable, deterministic. You inherit your genes from your parents, and those genes dictate everything: your height, your eye color, your intelligence, your health, your lifespan. You're a biological robot running a program written before you were born, with no ability to edit the code. This paradigm led to a simple, linear model of disease. Bad gene leads to bad protein leads to bad outcome. If you have a mutation in a specific gene, you'll produce a defective protein, and that will cause disease. Simple, deterministic, hopeless. But here's the problem. This model is catastrophically incomplete. And science has known it for at least 2 decades, even if the medical establishment and popular culture haven't caught up. The Human Genome Project, completed in 2003, was supposed to be the final proof of genetic determinism. Scientists would map every gene, correlate them with every disease, and we'd have a complete understanding of human health. We'd be able to predict who would get sick and engineer cures by fixing faulty genes. But something unexpected happened. The project revealed that humans have only about 20,000 to 25,000 genes, roughly the same number as a worm. If genes alone determined everything about us, how could we be so much more complex than a worm? And more troubling, studies of identical twins, people with identical DNA, showed wildly different health outcomes. One twin develops diabetes, the other doesn't. One gets cancer, the other lives to 100. Same genes, completely different destinies. How? If genes are the blueprint, and the blueprint is identical, why aren't the outcomes identical? The answer revolutionized biology. Genes are not a blueprint, they're a dashboard, Enter epigenetics, literally above genetics. This field studies how genes are turned on or off, up or down, without changing the underlying DNA sequence. Think of your DNA as a massive library of instruction manuals. Epigenetics determines which books get opened, which pages get read, and which instructions get followed. And here's the staggering discovery. The environment, including your thoughts, emotions, beliefs, and behaviors, controls which genes are expressed. This is not theoretical. This is measured, replicated, peer-reviewed science. Dr. Bruce Lipton, a cellular biologist, demonstrated that cells in a petri dish change their behavior based on the chemical environment you place them in. Same genes, different environment, completely different expression. He showed that the cell membrane, the interface between the cell and its environment, acts like a brain, receiving signals and instructing the DNA on how to respond. But it goes further. Dr. Candace Pert, the neuroscientist who discovered the opiate receptor, proved that thoughts and emotions are not ethereal. They're molecules, neuropeptides, chemical messengers that flood your body every time you think a thought or feel an emotion. These molecules bind to receptors on your cells and literally change which genes are expressed. When you think a fearful thought, your body produces cortisol and adrenaline. These stress hormones bind to receptors and activate genes for inflammation, immune suppression, and cellular aging. When you think a loving thought, your body produces oxytocin and endorphins, activating genes for healing, regeneration, and cellular repair. Your thoughts are not separate from your biology. They are your biology. And the most recent research, published just last year in 2025 and early 2026, has taken this even further. Studies are now showing that sustained changes in belief and identity can alter gene expression in as little as 8 weeks. People who shift from a narrative of "I am sick" to "I am healing" show measurable changes in markers of inflammation, immune function, and even telomere length, the protective caps on chromosomes that correlate with aging. Your genes are not your destiny, they're your potential. And which potential gets activated depends entirely on the signals you send through your internal narrative. The old model said, gene to protein to outcome. The new model says, environment, including internal narrative, to epigenetic signal to gene expression, to protein to outcome. You are not at the mercy of your DNA. You are in constant conversation with it. And the primary language of that conversation is the story you tell about yourself. So the question becomes, what story have you been telling? And is it a story of limitation and decline, or one of regeneration and vitality? Let's go deeper. Because the connection between thought and biology isn't just chemical, it's quantum. You've probably heard about quantum physics, the study of reality at the smallest scales, where particles behave in ways that defy common sense. Particles can exist in multiple states simultaneously until observed. They can be entangled across vast distances, influencing each other instantaneously. And most importantly for our discussion, the act of observation collapses the wave function, determining which of many possible states becomes real. This is called the observer effect, and it's one of the most profound mysteries in physics. Consciousness doesn't just witness reality, it participates in creating it. Now here's where it gets wild. Quantum effects aren't confined to subatomic particles in physics labs. They're happening in your body right now. Emerging research in quantum biology is showing that many biological processes, photosynthesis, bird navigation, enzyme catalysis, even the sense of smell, rely on quantum phenomena. Your cells are not just classical machines, they're quantum systems. And if consciousness can influence quantum systems, then consciousness can influence your cells. Dr. Joe Dispenza, a neuroscientist and researcher, has spent over a decade studying this connection. He's documented thousands of cases of people healing incurable diseases through meditation and mental rehearsal, cancer going into remission, autoimmune conditions reversing, chronic pain disappearing. His explanation: when you change your thoughts and emotions, you change the electromagnetic field generated by your heart and brain. This field is measurable, extending several feet beyond your body, and it carries information. That information influences the quantum field, which influences the behavior of molecules, which influences gene expression, which influences cellular function. In other words, your consciousness is the observer, and your body is the quantum system being observed. Every moment, your cells exist in a state of possibility. Will this cell repair itself or continue to degrade? Will this immune cell attack the invader or ignore it? Will this mitochondrion produce energy efficiently or sputter? The answer depends on the signals the cell receives, and the most powerful signals don't come from outside. They come from you, from your beliefs, from your identity, from the narrative you hold about who you are. This is why chronic illness narratives are so dangerous. When you identify as a diabetic, a cancer patient, someone with chronic pain, you're not just describing your current state, you're collapsing the wave function into that state. You're telling every cell in your body, this is who we are, this is what we do, this is our identity. And your cells, obedient as they are, follow the instruction. This creates a feedback loop. The illness narrative generates emotions: fear, resignation, helplessness. Those emotions produce stress hormones. The hormones activate inflammatory genes. The inflammation produces symptoms. The symptoms reinforce the narrative. Round and round, a self-perpetuating cycle that locks your biology into a state of disease. Neuroscientists call this a locked-in syndrome. Not in the clinical sense of paralysis, but in the sense that your biology becomes trapped in a pattern it can't escape. The same thoughts produce the same emotions, which produce the same biochemistry, which reinforce the same thoughts. You're stuck in a loop, and the loop is literally etched into the neural pathways of your brain and the epigenetic markers on your DNA. But here's the incredible news: the loop can be broken. Not through force, not through willpower, but through a fundamental shift in identity. When you transition from "I am sick" to "I am healing," you're not playing semantic games. You're issuing a new quantum instruction. You're collapsing the wave function into a different possibility. You're selecting a different timeline, and when that shift is sustained, when you embody the identity of a healthy, vital, regenerating being, your cells begin to respond. The stress response quiets. Anti-inflammatory genes activate. Repair mechanisms engage. Telomeres stabilize or even lengthen. Mitochondria produce more energy. This isn't magic, it's quantum biology responding to a new observer. You've changed the measurement, and the system has changed accordingly. The old paradigm saw you as a passive victim of biological processes beyond your control. A body that breaks down, decays, and dies according to genetic programming. The new paradigm recognizes you as a conscious architect, an active participant in the continuous creation of your physical form. Not through physical intervention, but through the quantum interface of thought and matter. Your body is not a solid object. It's a field of energy and information, constantly recreating itself. Every cell in your body is replaced over time, some in days, some in months, some in years. You are not the same physical being you were 7 years ago. Every atom has been swapped out. So who decides what the new cells look like? What instructions do they follow? The answer: they follow the narrative blueprint, the story you tell about who you are and what your body is capable of. And that story, you can rewrite it, starting now. If your internal narrative is the software running your biological hardware, then the first step in transformation is to decode that software, to make the unconscious conscious, to see the invisible scripts that have been dictating your physiology without your awareness. Most of your narrative blueprint exists below the level of conscious thought. It's embedded in language patterns, the words you habitually use to describe yourself and your body, identity markers, the labels you've accepted as truth. I'm not athletic, I have a slow metabolism, I'm prone to getting sick. Inherited beliefs, the health narratives passed down from your family and culture. Everyone in our family has bad knees. Women's bodies break down after 40. Traumatic imprints, past experiences of illness, injury, or medical diagnosis that created a before and after in your self-concept. These scripts run on autopilot, generating thousands of microsignals per day that your cells interpret as instructions. Let me give you an example. Consider the phrase, "I have a bad back." Seems innocent, right? just a description of physical reality. But let's decode it. I equals identity, have equals possession, ownership, bad equals permanent, defective, unfixable, back equals reduced to a part, objectified. When you say, I have a bad back, you're not describing a temporary condition. You're declaring an identity. You're claiming ownership of dysfunction. You're instructing your nervous system that this is a permanent state, a core part of who you are. And your nervous system, which takes language literally, responds accordingly. It maintains chronic tension in the back muscles. It limits range of motion to protect the defective part. It heightens pain sensitivity to remind you not to strain the bad area. The narrative becomes a self-fulfilling prophecy. Now, consider an alternative narrative. My back is healing and becoming stronger. Same back, completely different instruction set. This language implies temporary state, not permanent identity. Active process, not static condition. Movement toward wellness, not stuck in illness. Agency and hope, not resignation. Your nervous system receives this as a different set of operational instructions. It relaxes protective tension. It allows movement and exploration. It modulates pain signals differently. Over time, the physical structure actually changes to match the narrative. This is not wishful thinking. This is how the nervous system and the musculoskeletal system co-regulate. Your brain creates a body map, a representation of your physical form. When the map says bad back, the brain restricts function to match. When the map says healing back, the brain allows reorganization. The same principle applies to every aspect of your health. I'm exhausted versus I'm building my energy reserves. I'm aging rapidly versus I'm becoming more vital with time. I'm sick versus my body is actively restoring balance. These aren't just affirmations. They're epigenetic commands. Your cells are listening, and they will build the body that matches the story. So the work begins with an audit, a ruthless, honest inventory of the narratives you've been running. The narrative audit exercise. Take out a journal and answer these questions. 1. How do I habitually describe my body? Listen to the words you use in conversation and in your own head. Do you complain about your body? Do you speak of it as an enemy, a burden, a betrayal? 2. What health conditions do I identify with? Make a list of every diagnosis, every label, every I am or I have statement related to health. I'm diabetic, I have arthritis, I'm prone to migraines. 3. What did I inherit from my family's health narrative? What diseases run in the family? What did your parents or grandparents believe about aging, vitality, and the body's capacity? 4. When did my health story change? Was there a specific event, an injury, a diagnosis, a traumatic experience that created a before and after? Do you still identify with that event? 5. What am I afraid will happen to my body? What's the worst-case scenario you carry in the back of your mind? That fear is a narrative, and it's sending signals. As you write, you'll likely feel resistance, emotion, maybe even grief. That's good. You're uncovering the invisible architecture that's been shaping your biology. And here's the crucial insight. These narratives are not you. They're stories you adopted, often unconsciously, from past experiences and external influences. And stories can be rewritten. But before you can write a new story, you need to recognize the body for what it truly is, not a solid object, but a fluid interface. One of the most limiting beliefs in modern culture is the idea that your body is a solid, fixed object, a biological machine that inevitably breaks down over time. But this is an illusion created by the limits of perception. Yes, your body feels solid. You can touch your arm, and it seems like a stable, unchanging thing. But zoom in, and the truth is radically different. At the molecular level, your body is in constant flux. Every second, millions of chemical reactions are occurring. Proteins are being synthesized and degraded. Cells are dividing, dying, and being replaced. Atoms are being exchanged with the environment through breath, food, and water. The physicist Deepak Chopra describes it perfectly. Your body is not a frozen sculpture, it's a river. In fact, the vast majority of your body is replaced on a regular cycle. Stomach lining, every 5 days. Skin, every 2 to 4 weeks. Red blood cells, every 4 months. Liver, every 6 months. Skeleton, every 10 years, though bone remodeling is constant. Even your brain. While neurons persist, the molecules within them are constantly being recycled. This means you are not the same physical being you were a year ago, or even a month ago. The matter has changed. The structure has been rebuilt. So why then do chronic conditions persist? Why does your bad back stay bad? Why does disease continue when the very cells that were diseased have been replaced? The answer? Because the narrative persists. The new cells are being built according to the same instructions as the old cells. The blueprint hasn't changed, so the structure replicates the same patterns, same tensions, same dysfunctions, same disease states. But if the blueprint does change, if you shift the narrative, then the new cells can be built differently. The river can flow in a new direction. This is not theoretical. There's a documented phenomenon called spontaneous remission, cases where people with terminal cancer, advanced autoimmune disease, or other incurable conditions suddenly heal, often with no medical intervention. Dr. Kelly Turner studied over 1,500 cases of spontaneous remission and found common factors. One of the most significant, a radical shift in identity and belief. These people stopped identifying as victims of disease and started seeing themselves as powerful agents of healing. They changed the story, and their biology followed. The body is not a thing, it's a process, a dynamic, responsive interface between consciousness and matter. And the primary control panel for that interface is your narrative blueprint. When you transition from seeing your body as a solid object to experiencing it as a fluid process, everything changes. You stop being a passive observer of decline and become an active participant in regeneration. You begin to understand that every moment is an opportunity to send new signals. Every thought, every emotion, every visualization is a set of instructions being transmitted to the trillions of cells that are, right now, in the process of recreating your physical form. The question is not, can I change my body? The question is, what body am I creating right now with the signals I'm sending? And the even more empowering question, what body do I choose to create? Now we get practical. You understand the science. You've audited your narrative. You've recognized the body as a fluid interface. Now it's time to issue new commands, to consciously direct your biology toward regeneration. This is where ancient wisdom and cutting-edge science converge, because while the language is modern, the practice is timeless. Yogis, qigong masters, shamans, and mystics have been doing this for millennia, using focused intention to direct the body's healing intelligence. The difference now? We understand the mechanisms, we can measure the effects, we can refine the practice with precision. Protocol 1. Mitochondrial reprogramming through visualization. Your mitochondria are the energy factories of your cells. They convert nutrients into ATP, the molecular currency of energy. When mitochondria become dysfunctional, damaged by oxidative stress, inflammation, or toxic load, you experience fatigue, brain fog, and accelerated aging. But mitochondria are dynamic. They can be repaired, replaced, and even increased through a process called mitochondrial biogenesis. And recent research suggests that focused intention can influence this process. Here's the practice. Step 1. Sit or lie down in a quiet space. Close your eyes. Bring your awareness into your body. Step 2. Visualize each cell in your body. See them as tiny, glowing spheres of light. Inside each cell, see even smaller points of light. These are your mitochondria. Step 3. As you breathe in, imagine brilliant golden light entering your lungs and flooding into your bloodstream. See this light traveling to every cell, energizing the mitochondria. Watch them glow brighter, stronger, more vibrant. Step 4. As you breathe out, imagine any damaged or dysfunctional mitochondria being cleared away, carried out with the exhale. See new, healthy mitochondria forming in their place. Step 5. Hold the intention. My cells are generating abundant energy. My mitochondria are strong, efficient, and multiplying. I am vitality itself. Step 6. Feel this as truth, not as a future hope, but as a present reality. Embody the sensation of vibrant, boundless energy coursing through your body. Do this for 10 to 15 minutes daily. The visualization is not arbitrary. When you vividly imagine a physiological process, you activate the same neural networks that control that process. You're creating a coherent signal that the body can follow. Studies on athletes have shown that mental rehearsal alone can increase strength and improve performance, because the brain doesn't distinguish clearly between vividly imagined action and physical action. The same principle applies to cellular function. Protocol 2. Telomere regeneration through identity shift. Telomeres are the protective caps on the ends of your chromosomes. Every time a cell divides, the telomeres shorten slightly. When they become too short, the cell can no longer divide. It enters senescence, aging, or dies. Shortened telomeres are associated with aging, cancer, and degenerative disease. For years, telomere shortening was thought to be irreversible. Aging was a one-way street. Then, in 2009, Elizabeth Blackburn won the Nobel Prize for discovering telomerase, an enzyme that can rebuild telomeres. The body already has the capacity to regenerate them. The question is, what activates telomerase? Stress, depression, and chronic inflammation suppress telomerase. But meditation, exercise, and crucially, a sense of purpose and positive identity activate it. A 2013 study showed that just 12 minutes of daily meditation for 8 weeks increased telomerase activity by 43%. Another study found that people who identified as having a sense of purpose had longer telomeres than those who felt aimless. The narrative matters. When you see yourself as someone whose life is winding down, whose best days are behind them, whose body is inevitably declining, you suppress telomerase. When you see yourself as someone who is evolving, growing, contributing, and vital, you activate it. Here's the practice. Step 1. Create a new identity statement, not a wish, but a declaration. Examples. I am a being of regeneration and renewal. My body grows stronger and more vital with each passing day. I am designed for longevity and health. Step 2. Each morning, before you get out of bed, place your hands over your heart. Speak your identity statement aloud 3 times with conviction. Step 3. Visualize your telomeres. Imagine them as glowing caps on the ends of spiraling strands of DNA. See the enzyme telomerase, visualize it however feels right, actively rebuilding and lengthening those caps. Step 4. Feel the truth of this, not someday, but now. You are not a person who is aging into decay. You are a person whose cells are actively regenerating. Protocol 3. Hormonal alchemy, through emotional frequency. Your hormones are the chemical messengers that regulate virtually every system in your body. Metabolism, immune function, mood, energy, libido, sleep, and cellular repair. And your emotional state directly determines your hormonal landscape. Chronic stress produces cortisol and adrenaline, hormones that suppress immune function, promote inflammation, and accelerate aging. But states of love, gratitude, and joy produce oxytocin, DHEA, the vitality hormone, and endorphins, hormones that promote healing, regeneration, and resilience. This is not metaphor. Your emotions are literally chemistry, and you can change your chemistry by changing your emotions. Here's the practice. Step 1. Identify the emotional state you want to cultivate for healing. Common choices: gratitude, love, peace, vitality, joy. Step 2. Recall a specific memory when you felt that emotion powerfully. Don't just think about it, relive it. See what you saw, hear what you heard, feel what you felt. Step 3. Amplify the feeling. Let it build in your chest. Let it radiate outward through your entire body. Sustain it for at least 5 to 10 minutes. Step 4. As you hold this emotional state, direct it toward your body. Silently or aloud say, "This feeling is healing every cell. This love is regenerating my tissues. This gratitude is restoring my body to perfect health." Step 5. Repeat daily. The key is consistency. You're not looking for a one-time peak experience. You're establishing a new emotional baseline. The HeartMath Institute has shown that 5 minutes of sustained heart-centered emotion, like gratitude, can produce measurable changes in immune function, heart rate variability, and even DNA expression. You're not thinking positive, you're issuing a hormonal command. Protocol 4. Quantum scripting, writing the new biological code. This is the most advanced practice, synthesizing everything we've discussed. Quantum scripting is a daily writing practice where you describe your health, body, and vitality in present tense, vivid detail, as if it's already real. You're not journaling about your current state, you're scripting the reality you're choosing to collapse the wave function into. Here's how. Step 1. Each evening, spend 10 minutes writing in the first person, present tense, about your body as you intend it to be. Be specific. Examples. My body is a masterpiece of vitality and strength. Every cell hums with energy. My mitochondria are powerful and abundant, flooding my system with ATP. My immune system is vigilant and precise, eliminating threats while nurturing healthy tissue. My joints are fluid and pain-free. My skin glows with health. I move through the world with grace and power. I am regenerating. Step 2. As you write, feel it. Generate the emotions of already having this body. Relief, joy, gratitude, pride. Step 3. Read what you wrote aloud with conviction. Let the words sink into your nervous system as new instructions. Step 4. Before bed, visualize yourself living in this body. See yourself moving, laughing, thriving. Why does this work? Because your nervous system doesn't distinguish between vividly imagined experience and physical reality. When you script with enough detail and emotion, you're creating a neural and epigenetic template that your body will begin to follow. You're feeding your cells a new operational manual, and they will build the body that matches. We've covered the practices, but there's a deeper layer we need to address: the difference between intellectual understanding and embodied belief. You can know intellectually that your thoughts influence your biology. You can understand epigenetics, quantum biology, and neuroplasticity. But if deep down you don't actually believe your body can change, if there's a part of you that whispers, "This is all nonsense, you're still going to get sick," then that doubt will sabotage the process. Why? Because belief is not a surface-level thought. It's a deep, embodied knowing that operates at the level of identity. And your identity determines which signals dominate. Think of it like a tuning fork. If you strike a tuning fork tuned to 440 Hz, it will resonate with other objects tuned to 440 Hz and cause them to vibrate. But if you try to force a 528 Hz tuning fork to resonate with 440 Hz, it won't work. The frequencies are incompatible. Your beliefs are like tuning forks. If your deep belief is, "I'm fragile, I'm declining, I'm at the mercy of genetics," then all the visualization and scripting in the world will be working against that fundamental frequency. You're trying to impose a new signal on top of an incompatible baseline. But if you shift the baseline, if you change the fundamental frequency of your identity, then the practices amplify effortlessly. You're no longer forcing, you're resonating. So how do you shift belief at that deep level? The belief alchemy process. Step 1. Identify the limiting core belief. What's the deepest, most fundamental belief you hold about your body and health? Often, it's something like, "My body betrays me. Disease is inevitable as I age. I'm genetically doomed. I can't trust my body." Write it down. Don't sugarcoat it. What does the scared, conditioned part of you believe to be true? Step 2. Find the origin. When did you first adopt this belief? Was it from a parent, a doctor, a traumatic health event? Understanding where it came from helps you see it as an acquired story, not an inherent truth. Step 3. Challenge the belief with evidence. Your mind needs evidence to shift, so collect it. Research cases of spontaneous remission in conditions you fear. Find examples of people who've healed through mind-body practices. Review the scientific literature on epigenetics and neuroplasticity. Recall times in your own life when your body healed something impossible, a wound, an infection, a broken bone. Compile this evidence. Your subconscious needs to see that the new belief is not fantasy, it's supported by reality. Step 4. Create the new core belief. Write a new belief statement that feels aspirational but not absurd. Examples. My body is intelligent and capable of extraordinary healing. I'm designed for vitality at every age. My cells respond to my thoughts and emotions. Step 5. Repetition and embodiment. Repeat the new belief daily, aloud, with emotion, with conviction. But more importantly, act from it. Make decisions as if it were already true. If you truly believed your body was regenerating, would you fill it with junk food and stress? Or would you nourish it, rest it, move it with respect? Your actions reinforce belief, and belief creates biology. Over time, weeks, months, the new belief will sink from the conscious mind into the subconscious and eventually into the cellular level. It will become your new baseline, and from that baseline, transformation is inevitable. There's an obstacle we haven't yet addressed directly: trauma. Many chronic illnesses and patterns of physical limitation are not just the result of conscious beliefs. They're rooted in trauma, stored in the nervous system and tissues as incomplete defensive responses, unprocessed emotions, and fragmented memories. When you experience trauma, whether a single, overwhelming event or chronic developmental stress, your nervous system can become stuck in survival mode. The sympathetic nervous system, fight/flight, or the dorsal vagal system, freeze/collapse, remains activated even when the threat is long gone. This creates a state of chronic physiological stress. Cortisol levels stay elevated. Inflammation becomes systemic. The immune system becomes dysregulated. And the body interprets this state as normal. It becomes the baseline. You can do all the visualization and scripting in the world, but if your nervous system is locked in a trauma response, your body will resist. It's not safe to heal. Healing requires letting go of vigilance, and a traumatized nervous system can't afford that. So before you can fully command cellular regeneration, you may need to release trauma's biological grip. Somatic release practices. Trauma is stored in the body, not just the mind. Talk therapy alone often can't access it. You need somatic, body-based practices that allow the nervous system to complete the defensive responses that were interrupted. 1. Somatic experiencing, SE, developed by Dr. Peter Levine. SEE works with the body's felt sense to release stored trauma. By tracking sensations and allowing the body to complete interrupted movements, shaking, trembling, etc., the nervous system can discharge the trauma and return to regulation. 2. Trauma-releasing exercises, TRE. Simple movements that induce therapeutic tremoring, allowing the body to release deep muscular tension patterns created by trauma. 3. Breathwork. Practices like holotropic breathwork or conscious connected breathing can access and release trauma stored in the tissues. 4. EMDR. Eye movement desensitization and reprocessing. Bilateral stimulation, eye movements, tapping, helps the brain reprocess traumatic memories and integrate them. If you've experienced significant trauma, working with a trained practitioner in one of these modalities can be transformative. The goal is to help your nervous system return to a state of safety and regulation, what's called ventral vagal tone. From that state, your body can finally hear the regenerative signals you're sending. The trauma narrative, I'm broken, I'm damaged, I'm unsafe, can release, and a new narrative can take root. Transformation is not a destination, it's a continuous process. You don't arrive at perfect health and then coast. You're always in dialogue with your body, always sending signals, always choosing the narrative. The question is, how do you make this sustainable? How do you integrate the new identity so deeply that it becomes automatic, effortless, permanent? The Integration Framework 1. Build a daily practice ecosystem. Don't rely on willpower or motivation. Build a system of practices that become as automatic as brushing your teeth. Morning, identity declaration plus quantum scripting in 10 minutes. Midday, heart coherence breathing, 5 minutes. Evening, visualization of cellular regeneration, 10 minutes. Weekly, somatic movement practice, yoga, qigong, dance. Consistency matters more than intensity. Small, daily inputs create exponential change over time. 2. Create environmental support. Your environment sends constant signals. If your home is cluttered, toxic, and chaotic, it's hard to embody vitality. If your social circle constantly reinforces narratives of decline and limitation, you'll be swimming upstream. Design your environment intentionally. Surround yourself with beauty and order. Curate media and relationships that reinforce regeneration and possibility. Eliminate or minimize toxins, food, products, people that undermine your biology. 3. Measure and celebrate progress. Your nervous system needs feedback that the new narrative is working. Track markers, energy levels, daily 1 to 10 rating, pain levels, sleep quality, mood and mental clarity, physical performance, strength, flexibility, endurance. When you see improvement, celebrate it. Let your body know this is working. Keep going. 4. Expect and navigate setbacks. You will have days when symptoms return, when doubt creeps in, when old narratives resurface. This is not failure. It's part of the process. When setbacks happen, don't spiral into, "It's not working, I'm doomed." Instead, recognize it as the old pattern having a last hurrah. Gently return to the new narrative. Recommit to the practices. Trust the process. Healing is not linear, it's spiral. You'll revisit old places, but from a higher perspective each time. Navigating external pressure. One of the biggest challenges in maintaining your new narrative is external resistance. Doctors who dismiss your agency, family members who roll their eyes at woo-woo practices, friends who insist you're in denial about your real condition. Here's the truth. Most people are invested in the old paradigm because it absolves them of responsibility. If health is genetic and deterministic, then they're not accountable. Your transformation threatens that comfortable worldview. You don't need to convince anyone. You don't need to proselytize, but you do need to protect your narrative from contamination. Strategies. Politely decline medical language that reinforces limitation. If a doctor says, "You have chronic fatigue syndrome," you can mentally reframe, "My body is in a temporary state of energy depletion that I'm actively addressing." Set boundaries with people who undermine your healing. You don't owe anyone an explanation. "I'm choosing to approach my health differently" is enough. Find allies and community. Seek out people who understand and support the mind-body connection. Online communities, local groups, or even one close friend can make all the difference. Let your results speak. As your health improves, the skeptics will quiet. Some will even become curious. Your lived transformation is the most powerful argument. Let's zoom all the way out and look at what we're really talking about here. For millennia, humans have seen the body as a vessel, a temporary home for the soul, a biological machine, a source of suffering to transcend. Even modern medicine treats it as a problematic object to be fixed, controlled, or endured. But what if the body is not a problem to solve, but a masterpiece in progress? What if your physical form is the most sophisticated piece of technology in the known universe? A self-organizing, self-healing, conscious interface between spirit and matter. What if every cell is an intelligent node in a vast network, capable of communication, adaptation, and regeneration beyond anything we've yet imagined? This is not hyperbole. Consider what your body does without your conscious input. It fights off millions of pathogens daily. It repairs DNA damage thousands of times per cell per day. It coordinates trillions of chemical reactions per second. It regulates temperature, pH, blood sugar, and hormone levels with astonishing precision. It grows new blood vessels to heal wounds. It rewires neural pathways in response to learning. It generates entirely new cells to replace the old. Your body is not failing you. It's performing miracles constantly. And now, you're learning to become a conscious collaborator in that process. You're stepping into your role as architect, not through control or force, but through alignment and communication. You're learning the language your body speaks, narrative, emotion, intention, and you're using that language to guide the masterpiece toward ever greater beauty and function. This is the ultimate expression of human potential, the marriage of consciousness and biology, the integration of mind and matter, the realization that you are not in a body. You are a body-mind continuum, a unified field of awareness and physicality. And from that understanding, the question becomes, what kind of body do you choose to design? Not based on fear or limitation, but based on vision and possibility. What if you could live to 100, 120, or beyond, not in decline, but in vibrant health? What if you could reverse the biological markers of aging? What if you could heal injuries and illnesses that medicine has deemed incurable? What if your body could become stronger, more resilient, more beautiful with each passing year? These are not fantasies. They're possibilities that exist within the quantum field of potential that your body inhabits. And by shifting your internal narrative, you're selecting which possibilities become real. You are standing at the frontier of human evolution. A new paradigm is emerging, one where health is not luck or genetics, but a conscious co-creation between mind and body. And you get to be a pioneer. The transformation we're describing here isn't just personal, it's civilizational. For centuries, medicine has operated from a paradigm of intervention. Something goes wrong, and an external agent, doctor, drug, surgery, fixes it. The patient is passive, a broken machine brought to the mechanic. This model has achieved extraordinary things. Antibiotics, vaccines, surgical techniques, these have saved countless lives. But the model has limits. It's exceptionally good at acute intervention, but it fails miserably at chronic degenerative disease. Why? Because chronic disease is not primarily a mechanical problem. It's a systemic, multifactorial, often psychosomatic condition rooted in lifestyle, environment, stress, and most fundamentally, narrative. You can't medicate your way out of a story. You can't surgically remove a belief. You can't vaccinate against trauma. The future of medicine must integrate what we're discussing here, the recognition that consciousness is not separate from biology, that the patient is not passive but participatory, and that healing is not something done to you, but something you actively engage in. We're seeing the early signs of this shift. Psychoneuroimmunology is now a recognized field, studying the bidirectional communication between mind, nervous system, and immune system. Functional medicine treats the whole person, biochemistry, lifestyle, and psychology, not just isolated symptoms. Mind-body interventions like meditation, biofeedback, and hypnosis are being integrated into hospital settings. Epigenetic research is revolutionizing our understanding of disease susceptibility and prevention. But the real revolution will happen when individuals, people like you, stop outsourcing their health and step into their power as conscious creators. When you understand that you are the primary healing agent, the entire system shifts. Doctors become consultants, not authorities. Drugs become tools, not crutches. Diagnosis becomes information, not identity. This doesn't mean rejecting modern medicine. It means integrating it into a larger framework where you are the central player, not a passive recipient. Imagine a future where medical school teaches doctors about epigenetics, narrative medicine, and the mind-body connection. Hospitals have meditation rooms and somatic therapy alongside surgery suites. Health insurance covers coaching, breathwork, and mental rehearsal practices. The first question a doctor asks is not, "What are your symptoms?" but "What's your story?" This future is not distant. It's emerging now. And every person who heals themselves through conscious narrative reconstruction is a data point proving the new paradigm. You are not just healing yourself. You're demonstrating what's possible. You're part of the evolution of human health. Let's address the elephant in the room, death. If we can regenerate cells, rewrite epigenetic code, and command our biology through narrative, can we live forever? This is where science, philosophy, and spirituality collide. Biologically, aging is not inevitable. It's a program. Certain species, like the hydra, certain jellyfish, and some types of trees, show negligible senescence. They don't age in the traditional sense. They can, theoretically, live indefinitely if not killed by predators or disease. Why do humans age? The prevailing theories include telomere shortening, which we've discussed and which can be mitigated, cellular senescence, cells that stop dividing and accumulate, causing inflammation, mitochondrial dysfunction, leading to energy decline, protein misfolding and accumulation, like amyloid plaques in Alzheimer's, epigenetic drift, random changes in gene expression over time. But here's the astonishing thing. Every single one of these mechanisms is potentially reversible or preventable. In 2019, a small study showed that a combination of growth hormone, DHEA, and metformin actually reversed epigenetic age by an average of 2.5 years. Participants' immune systems appeared younger after the treatment. In 2020, researchers used cellular reprogramming to reverse age-related vision loss in mice, restoring youthful function to old cells. Senolytics, drugs that selectively kill senescent cells, are showing promise in extending health span and lifespan in animal models. The science of longevity is accelerating. And while we're not at the point of biological immortality, radical life extension, living healthily to 120, 150, or beyond, is within the realm of possibility. But here's the deeper question. Is extended lifespan desirable without an extended narrative? If you live to 150 but spend the last 80 years in fear, boredom, or meaninglessness, what's the point? Longevity without vitality is not a gift, it's a burden. This is why the internal narrative is paramount. You must not just extend life, you must expand it. You must have a reason to be here, a vision that grows with you, a sense of purpose that regenerates as your body does. The people who live the longest, healthiest lives, the centenarians studied in blue zones around the world, share common traits: strong social connections, a sense of purpose, what the Japanese call ikigai, regular movement and time in nature, low stress and strong community, a positive, resilient mindset. These are narrative factors. They're about how you see yourself, your role, your place in the world. So if you want to extend your lifespan, don't just focus on cellular mechanics, focus on meaning. Ask yourself, what am I here to contribute? What brings me alive? What legacy am I creating? How do I want to evolve as I age? The body will follow the story. If your story ends at 75, that's a good run, your body will comply. But if your story extends to 100, 120, or beyond, and if that story is rich with purpose, connection, and growth, your body will do everything it can to keep you here. Immortality, in the biological sense, may or may not be achievable, but living fully, vibrantly, consciously for as long as you're here, that's entirely within your grasp. So here we are, at the end of this journey into cellular alchemy. But as with all real transformations, this is not an ending, it's a beginning. You started this exploration as someone who may have felt like a passenger in your own body, subject to genetic fate, medical pronouncements, and the inevitable decline of aging. A victim of biology. But now you know the truth. Your DNA is not a fixed blueprint, it's a responsive dashboard. Your cells are not mindless automatons, they're intelligent listeners, waiting for your instructions. Your body is not a solid object, it's a river, constantly recreating itself from the narrative blueprint you provide. You are not a victim, you are an architect. Every thought you think, every emotion you feel, every word you speak about your body is a design specification. Your cells are the builders, faithfully constructing according to the plans you provide. For years, perhaps decades, you've been providing plans for decline, limitation, and disease, not intentionally, but unconsciously, through inherited narratives and cultural conditioning. But now, you can provide new plans for regeneration, for vitality, for strength and resilience that defy age and expectation. This is cellular alchemy, the transformation of the physical through the reconstruction of the narrative. It's not magic, it's not wishful thinking. It's the integration of epigenetics, quantum biology, neuroscience, and the ancient wisdom traditions into a comprehensive understanding of what you are, a conscious being with the power to shape your own biology. The practices are simple, the science is sound, the results are measurable. All that's required is the courage to step into a new identity, to let go of the victim story, to claim your power as the author of your own biological destiny. Your body is listening. Right now, in this moment, trillions of cells are waiting for instruction. What will you tell them? Will you tell them the old story of decline, limitation, and inevitable breakdown? Or will you tell them the new story of regeneration, vitality, and limitless potential? The choice, as it always has been, is yours. But now, you know the truth. The choice is not just mental, it's biological, it's cellular, it's alchemical. You are the conscious architect of your own physical form. Now go, build your masterpiece. Thank you for joining me on this deep exploration into cellular alchemy and the power of narrative to transform physical health. If this has shifted something in how you see your body and your potential, I'd love to hear about your journey in the comments. And if you're ready to explore more cutting-edge intersections of consciousness, biology, and human potential, subscribe and join me as we continue to push the boundaries of what's possible. Until next time, rewrite your story, command your cells, and architect the vitality you were always meant to embody.